Hello, everybody. This is Dr. McGuire back again with another episode of Perspective. I'm continuing the theme of when we say it's called Find My Path, because this individual today, Mr. Joe Sokola, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
Good. Definitely has an interesting path that he or journey along the way into where he is today. So, Joe, let's dive right into it. I picked you because your background is very interesting. I followed you on radio and TV with this with your endeavors. We could touch base on that possibly. Try to keep it a little loose.
Okay.
But let's go back to when we started to talk. You're reviewing that you were in radio and TV early on, right? So that was your interest, I'm assuming, and your passion.
Oh yeah.
Right?
I mean, ever since I was a kid, always wanted to be in the entertainment industry. Did little puppet shows, to playing a game show host for the family get-togethers, to doing a lot of community theater, working involved in high school, and then eventually being in a community theater at Swarthmore's Players Club and Alden Playhouse. And then got the opportunity to be a guest on Dancing on Air and Dance Party USA. And that opened up a whole bunch of doors. I got to meet so many radio people. So I think at that time, I didn't care which direction I wanted to go. I just wanted to be in the entertainment industry.
Well, two things.
Yeah.
So how old were you again during this period?
I was 16 when I first went on the dance show.
Okay. And what drove you, though? What drove you to the entertainment world? Why did you like the plays and TV?
You know what? I think to make people happy, and the number one comment that people still say to me today, like, your smile is incredible and your positive energy. And we'll get to where I'm at now, leading people, and especially during the past couple months, what we had to go through. I think I just wanted to make people happy and give back. At that time, I had no ambitions of getting married. I didn't want kids. I just wanted to travel the world, which I did, got to go overseas, traveled around the United States. So I eventually got a job interning at a radio station at 16. And then from there, just met a lot of famous people and worked real hard. And then I think my big break came when I was 17 and a half years old. I was actually running the controls back at the radio station while being on the dance show at the same time and doing promotions for Channel 17 and having my hand in banking, because my mom was like, well, you're not going to college right out of high school. And I was like, I'm not ready for that. And I knew this is the path I wanted to go. I'm like, I don't need college right now, because I think at that time I wouldn't have done as well as I did. I wasn't mature enough, and financially it just wasn't the right time for me. So I was a workaholic, and I remember the first time I opened the microphone, it was a snowy night with ice, and we were doing a live broadcast from one of those clubs on Delaware Avenue, and the DJ had called and said I couldn't get in. There was an ice storm, so I was like, oh, now I'm stuck here another 7 hours. Called the program director, and he said, well, Hot Shot, this was 7 a.m. on a Saturday morning. He was like, oh, well, you know what to do, Hot Shot, open up the microphone. I think that was the most terrifying 5 minutes that I will remember in all of my life.
But at the same time, it was a rush, right?
It was like that moment I was waiting for, because I've done little parts and I was always a part of other people's radio and TV show, but this was, well, I'm opening up the microphone. So it was the best feeling in the world. And then a couple hours later, the program director calls in. They call in a special hotline and said, well, Hotshot, you got yourself a weekend gig on the air. And that's how it all started. And from there, just so much happened. I was working at the bank during the day, and that's when banking was Monday through Friday. And I went in at 8:30, got done at like 3:15, no weekends, no nights, no holidays. So I still did radio promotions, marketing, and on air and producing. I never said no.
Well, let me ask you, not to interrupt you, but so up to this point, what do you contribute to all your successes with the bank and the radio and the TV and all these things that you're doing? Go ahead.
Just one thing. I think, well, two things. I had great mentors who were always there when I asked questions. And I said, well, I asked a lot of questions, and I learned by those questions, and I learned by doing and seeing
But
and watching.
but give me
Um,
an example of that. Who was the mentor? Give me
Dick
one.
Clark. Dick
Dick
Clark.
Clark.
And
Okay.
I had the opportunity to meet him
Wow.
at Dick Clark's American Bandstand. I was with Star 104.5 at the time, and I was 18, 19, I guess. The place had just opened. And when he walked in the door, I had met a lot of celebrities at that time. I was like, oh my God, I
Oh
can't
yeah.
believe this. And I told him, I said, I'm a big fan and I'm on Dancing on Air. And we started naming people we knew. So it went from being a fan to like, hey, here's what you got to do in your career, to focus. And it looks like you got to start with radio. Are you willing to move to California? I said, well, I come from an Italian family. They don't want me to move, and that's a struggle. But right now I have my life full. I was doing some movie extra. I was doing some voiceover. So I was content.
Did
And
you
I
ask him
still had,
anything though with Dick Clark? Did you ask him one specific question?
yeah,
I know
how
it's been
did
a
you
while.
get where you were? And he said, hard work, determination. And when people rejected me, I didn't let that bother me.
Wow.
So he's just focused on, okay, this door closed, I'm gonna open another door. So
Well,
that
let's
was
talk about
really
that for a second.
close.
Let's talk about that because you brought up a good point.
Yeah,
And the viewers that are watching this want to learn from you, right? You're going to be a sponge. They're going to be a sponge
yeah,
in learning this type of things. Let's talk
yeah,
about rejection because in
yeah,
that field, we all are
yes.
faced with rejection. But how do you overcome something like that in that field, right? It's an
Um,
ego hit, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I tell everybody in anything that you do, rejection is going to be a big part of it. In the entertainment industry, obviously, there's so many people that want to do that, but there's a minute, section that actually gets successful. It is about who you know, but it's also about hard work and persistence. So when you're rejected, you just say, hey, I'm going to keep going. So you just got to be positive and look for another outlet or another person. I think meeting as many people as you can and building a network before you go into something. So when you're in college or you're young, networking, and that's what I did. I wasn't going to college at the time, but I was networking with the cameraman, with every radio person that came on Dance on Air. It was like, hey, can I come watch you? I took notes.
Wow.
I always watch TV in a different perspective, and I watch movies like, okay, I see the camera angles and the way they design the sets, and that really intrigued me. So when it called upon, hey, can you build a set? Can you do voiceover? Can you produce a live broadcast? I said, yeah, yeah, and yeah, because it kept me,
Awesome.
I had a lot of money when I was young. I bought my first new car at 21, cash. So that was an exciting moment, but those doors, I never let it, discourage me at all.
Well, what makes a good mentor now looking back? Because there's
Wow. There's
there's good and bad and everything in between. But what makes a good mentor?
there is. I mean, another person that sticks out is Chris Train, who was actually a DJ at 106.1.
Now
Um,
everything you're referencing with the radio and TV,
yeah,
just so everybody knows, it was primarily in the Philadelphia market, right?
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So Chris Train had worked all over the country and he did the night show. And when I worked with him at the radio station at night, I used to produce and be his producer and back then nothing was computerized. So I'd have to set up the commercials and the songs in order they were on a playlist on paper. And then what we were going to talk about and each segment, how that talk break was going to go. But he was amazing at what he did. He just was just himself. He would talk to listeners on the phone. He would answer every single phone call. He appreciated the listeners. Some of the people I've watched never answered the phone. You answered the phone. Well, no, they're calling to talk to you. And I
Yeah.
won't name any names, but I've worked with really disappointing people. So when you knew them in front of the camera or the microphone, and then when you got to know them behind the scenes, it was two different people. And I didn't want that. I think being genuine is probably the biggest quality that people would say about me, even to
Hmm.
this day.
Yeah, I agree, and it's good that you were able to decipher what people in the industry were good,
Yeah.
not good and bad, but that you felt comfortable with shadowing and what have you.
Mhm.
So, all right, let's just maybe fast forward or somewhere in between when
Yeah.
you decided to go to college, right? Because this is all
Yeah.
intertwined with college and career. And I always say that it's not mandatory that you go to college because there's so many
Right.
options today, right? I had that conversation with many folks, but since
Yeah.
you did go, let's pick up with when, why, and
Mhm.
what what was the result thereafter. And I
Yeah.
know we still continue the zigzags of life, but
No, but that's how life is. I think, I just roll with a lot of things and I just see where it ends up. So I decided I was 28 and I was working at the bank and they said, oh, we could pay for college courses for you. I was like, great, because financially I was doing well, but let's face it, I was in my 20s. I spent money on frivolous things. Clothes, going out, expensive dinners, traveling. I mean, traveling's expensive. So I said, I think I want to try college. And I think back to many of times I wasn't the smartest kid in school, but I wasn't the dumbest kid. I think if I focused a little more in my academics and not so much on the social aspect, I would have done better. But I did what I did to get by. So I said to myself, I'm going to take some college classes at Delaware County Community College. The bank's paying for it. They said you could take basically liberal arts, your basic classes, math, science, whatever. So I said, well, I'm going to take this opportunity. So I started to like it. I started to make friends. I started to help at the radio station there. So it was just me. It was something that I was told I couldn't be good at college, or academically, I was not the smartest kid, but I did well. I was 4.0 the whole way through college. So I went to Delaware County for about 5 years because I was working 2 jobs, whether it was in radio or the bank. And I did my classes. I wasn't a person that studied. I didn't need to study. I just paid attention in class. I outlined my notes. I reviewed it when a test came. Boom, I got the answer. So it was a really easy transition for me. And then I got a partial scholarship to Westchester and Cabrini. I chose Cabrini because of the smaller class size. At that time, it was a college and it wasn't a university. So I shifted my major to broadcast journalism and I dual majored in elementary ed. So I kind of was working in both. The radio part of it came very easy because I was already working in it for so many years. So I kind of aced all that. But then I said, I'd love to teach someday and be a teacher. So that was fun.
Where'd that come from?
I I think from the level of entertaining, I think when you're a teacher, you still have to be up in front of people. And in my mind, that was a way to entertain and inspire. So it was a fantastic experience. So I chose Cabrini and I graduated 10 years after high school with a diploma in my 30s. It was a proud moment for me because I never thought I could ever do that. So it was exciting.
Yeah, well, hit the pause button for a second. Let me just go back and words of encouragement to the younger folks.
Yeah.
When they go to college, the finances are always an option or a consideration, a topic, and some are they back away because they think they don't have the money. But to your point that you brought up, I just wanted to share with everybody that there are employers who will pay for you to go to college, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
what don't hold it to me, but I think it's like a 1, 2, 3 year commitment, whatever the equation is, where you don't have to pay it back. But that's great.
It is. And I think, financially, there's ways around it. I mean, I came from a split family. My mom and dad were divorced. I lived with my grandparents. They never went to college. So it was not like a priority. They just did a blue collar job and that's just what their parents did. But, my family always encouraged me. My friends encouraged me. I think, I just had that inner passion that whatever I did, I was going to come out of this, whether it was good or bad, but I never wanted to regret. Regret is something I say to myself and I say to my staff now, you never want to regret something. So think about it. If you try something and it doesn't work out, you tried it. If you never go for it or never try it, then you're going to always wonder if I would have tried that, or I would have said yes to this, or took that job, then you can't go back. But you can always go the other way saying, you know what, I tried that, not for me. It's okay.
I agree. And it's a fear factor, right? But,
Yes.
I think that the phrase when people say, life's too short, yada, 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 be all you can be and do that things. But I think that really gets lost in translation because saying it is one thing, but like you doing it,
Doing it.
and you're definitely a bundle of joy to have in with your experiences. So hopefully this will resonate with one person. So let's continue.
Yeah.
So you finished college.
Yep.
You're interested in teaching, so on and so forth. Pick me up at that point.
Okay. So that was 96, 97. Yeah, 96 I graduated. The summer of 97, everybody was getting jobs in teaching, and I took my praxis exams and I passed them, and I was like, well, this is great. But then I had an opportunity to go work for Q102, which was at the time, the biggest CHR station. I already knew people that worked there. I had a friend at Channel 17 because I was doing some projects with them say, hey, why don't you go over and talk to so-and-so at Q102? I went there, and this person is, I'm still friends with. She said, you're hired on the spot. And I said, awesome. And I said, what do I have to do? And she says, I want you to work in the promotion department. And then I got to meet Glenn Kalina. And Glenn Kalina was another role model at that time in my life. He was very cut and dry, but he saw something in me. And
but tell us who Glenn Kalina is for those who don't
Glenn
know.
Kalina is a radio personality in Philadelphia. Right now, he's on 98.1 WOGL, which I was a guest DJ actually last Friday. Didn't realize how many people listened. I did put it on Facebook, but got texts and people going, oh my God, I'm listening. So he was a great mentor. So I did a little on air, I did a little promotions, and I did a little producing there. And from there, it just took off. I ended up at Star 104.5. I kept climbing the ladder as being the promotions and marketing director. At JJZ, I took that under my belt along with Star 104.5. And then I did that for like 5 years. And then in 99, I ended up at WXTU, and I landed there for 12 and a half years. And then, go ahead.
No, that's interesting. Yeah.
12 and a half years. I love that. That was probably, again, next to Q102. I had a lot of great experiences. But the thing that made XTU, being a country format, WXTU in Philadelphia, the artists were so real and down to earth. They didn't come with 20 entourage of people. It would be the artist, and then I'll give you Tim McGraw and Faith Hill would come in, have a conversation, how's the weather? And at that point, I was never a starstruck person, only for Dick Clark. So it was just having a conversation with people who just happened to sing. And again, I said, when I got the job, oh, do you know country music? Yeah, I never listened to country music. I knew who artists were, the crossover ones, Shania Twain and Faith Hill and all those. So it was an opportunity that just, got me into so many different projects. I got some voiceover work with some companies, and then I was doing that for about 8 years. Strictly, I was the marketing promotion director at WXTU, got to meet some fantastic people, got to travel the country, got to be on some award shows, won some awards. And then we flipped WWDB, which is our sister station, to 96.5. Was actually Wild 96.5, but because of some rights of another competitor, we got sued, so we needed to change it to Wired 96.5. So then I ended up there, and I was there for about 6 more years, but still helped out at WXTU because I can never have one job or stay in one lane. So then I got a TV gig at Channel 17, which I was asked to audition. I'm like, oh, when am I going to fit this in? It was called Better, and it was from the people that did Better Homes and Garden magazine, decided to come on with a home and garden show. So it was a nationally syndicated show, but they did local inserts like from Philadelphia on Channel 17. So I went and auditioned. There was about 500 people that auditioned, and I was one of 3 people that were the host. It lasted about 2 years because of ratings, and it was a lot of money to go out and film these, but it was a great experience. At that time, I was on my high, and I thought, well, I had opportunities to do other stuff, but I just didn't want to leave Philadelphia at that time. And my mom had moved to California in San Francisco, and I went out there a couple times. I auditioned for a couple things, and a lot of people don't know this, but there was a show called Class of '96, which was a Melrose Place / 90210 show that was airing on Fox. Well, I actually auditioned and got on the cast with Nev Campbell. Matthew Fox was on there. There's a few other people that are big celebrities now that have done stuff. Well, the show was picked up, and the next year I was going to go to LA and do some filming. My mom and I ran back and forth. I had an agent at the time. So it was a lot of working out the numbers, and and I was like, wow, is this really happening? But I had a lot to give up. And was I willing to do this? Again, those opportunities, I said, I'm going to do this. So I didn't tell anybody yet until the final came down to the wire, where we were going to shoot in the middle of the summer, probably in June or July. We shot 3 episodes, and it was an amazing experience. My mom was real supportive. My agent, which was my mom's friend, was real supportive. The show never really aired. There was some buying rights and some legal things that cost it, but the experience was great. I was very, very disappointed. But again, that door closed and another door opened, So I just stuck with the radio, came back to Philadelphia. And then I think when the economy collapsed, probably in 2008 and 9, things were starting to get shaky. People were getting laid off. Technology changed. There was a lot of people voiceovering, a lot of people leaving and doing satellite radio and scrounging to be a realtor or do other things.
Yeah.
2010, I got laid off from the TV show because I was still doing that, and then got laid off at WXTU and Wire 96.5. That was very disappointing. So I literally was left to figure out what to do next. So remember, I had this banking experience for about 15 years under my belt. And I said, well, I have a mortgage, and I like to buy clothes, and I like to eat. So I guess I'm going to go find a job. Well, it wasn't that easy. So for 6 months, I was out of work. I took a job at Nordstrom, which was funny because at that time we didn't go online and do applications. You filled out a paper application, send it through email and all that. Got a phone call an hour later. And again, this is where opportunity, came. So it was like, hey, do you want to come here for an interview? When can you be here? And I'm like, in an hour. I put on a suit, went there, got the job. I was there for about 9 years. I loved it. In the meantime, I got a job at another big bank. It wasn't the one I'm at now. So I did that. They wouldn't bring me in management right away. They wanted me to work up. So I did the selling clothes, which was great because I got to meet so many people, including TV and radio people coming in.
Like who?
Adam Joseph, Eric Lindros.
You have to let us know who these people are for those who are watching. So Adam Joseph is who?
Yeah, so they're Philadelphia radio people and Philadelphia Flyers. Ron Howard, one of the Phillies. So a lot of people did their shopping in Nordstrom. It was a high-end, retailer. So again, I didn't know anything about. I never worked in retail in my whole entire life, but I just was me, and I sold clothes, and I knew how to put things together, and I kind of learned by again watching. And at that time, people frowned upon me and said, well, you worked in radio and TV and you're selling clothes. I said, well, got to pay the mortgage somehow. So, it was a
But let me ask you this. So before we get into your final position here, or where you are right now. So to that point, you leave radio, you leave TV, you're on your high of doing what you love, and then you go to retail. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it has to be, or had to be, a little deflating, right?
Yes.
That you went from that to retail.
Yes.
So how do you mentally, because you don't have to say your age, but you had to put a lot of time into what your passion was, and then you're going to retail. So walk me through, how do you mentally get over that?
It was difficult. I think the friendships that I thought I pulled away. I withdrew from a lot of people in my life, and I had to hit the reset button and figure out, okay, now I'm in survival mode. It's different to do something you love, but you also need to do something to survive. Listen, we all have to eat. We have to pay our mortgage. My mom had passed away at that time. My dad and I never talked. I had nobody to ask. My brother's like, well, if you get evicted, you can live in my basement. Meantime, he has 3 kids, a dog, and he lived in Delaware. I was like, well, that sure isn't happening. So I think, stop feeling sorry for yourself, Joe, and do what you need to do. And again, it wasn't like I wasn't applying in radio and TV jobs. I was getting offers in like these little places in Tennessee and Wisconsin, but they were paying like $35,000 a year. I'm like, I can't survive on that. And I'm not moving. No, I said to myself, I'm going to make this work and see what opportunity, because there's got to be, reasons. So I got
Here's what I
myself.
like about you. Here's what I like about you so far up to this
Yeah.
point, that you didn't roll over. You were not spoon fed, right?
No.
The poor me, right?
Yeah.
Outlook on life. Although, it's human nature to say, oh, gee whiz, it didn't work out. But your perseverance and your determination, coupled with your mentorship of those who influence you, I
Yes.
think have made you well-rounded, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So this was meant to be. I had faith that I was going to work again in the business and something would come along. And it was an opportunity to, again, being at Nordstrom and then working for the bank, to meet people, which I did. But then I started to get a little complacent and say, well, listen, this is reality. I'm going to work hard. And I did. I kept the Nordstrom job part-time. I was full-time, then went part-time. And then in the banking world, I just soared because of my customer service skills. And again, being in front of people is just like being on TV or radio. I mean, I'm faced with challenges every single day, especially this last couple months. But so I was at that bank for 9 years and then had the opportunity to come here. Got offered a very good salary, the most money I ever made with one job, and not crazy nights and weekends, although I do work some weekends. I am the manager, so I can dictate which weekends I want to work. But I dig in with my team, and I think that's respect in itself, because as a leader, you need your teamers always looking at you. So I put myself back then when I was looking up to people and the people that inspired me. Listen, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. So I ended up coming to this bank, who's treated me really well. They believe in, their culture is all about celebrating birthdays and milestones,
That's cool.
and client relationships. And the feeling, I've been here almost 4 years now. I'm in a upper middle class area. And I learned that, I can do anything. So I've been very, very successful in this role. I am a store manager, and I'm vice president of the company. And I have really good leaders that I can call up my region president, who has probably 800 branches under her, and say, hey, how you doing? Or shoot her an email and she will respond to me. And that's the kind of leadership
Awesome.
that I was lucky to have throughout my life. And I still keep in touch with a lot of radio people, and I still mentor. I love seeing on Facebook a lot of my interns who are now, leaders of the radio station, or they have their own law firm. So whatever direction, it took them, they always say, hey, thanks for helping me, and your positive, comments and just, being there for somebody to talk to and mentor. So
That's awesome.
It's been a great experience. And I lead a team of 9 here. And I think one thing in this last couple months has taught me to be a better leader and a manager through tough times. Not only did I have to motivate the people in the branch here, but also outside. And when you think people that have money, hey, they're going to make it through this COVID time and losing their jobs. I work with a lot of business customers. Small business is dying right now, and it's a struggle. Your bars, your restaurants, the entertainment industry, movie theaters, that's the big struggle. Your blue collar workers are doing really well, but it's been a strange balance, meaning that the people you think that are educated and drive Mercedes and have everything, it's a split second, they lose their job. And now I just talked to a customer who's got to move to an area, sell their house and sell their cars. And so reality taught me, again, still be positive. I can bring a smile. I work one-on-one with people. I'm still entertaining. I'm still doing that. And it's not over. Life's not over. I know people going back to school in their 50s. So if the next chapter in my life is to be back in TV and radio, then let it. But I'm happy doing what I'm doing for now.
So life is good for you right now. right?
It is. And I think money wise, I have a house down the shore. I just bought a brand new boat. I'm married. I have, a dog, 5 birds, a house in the country. Like I have everything that I need. Like I'm so grateful. And you have to take a step back and say, look what you have accomplished. Okay, you're not Dick Clark, but look where, are you happy? Yeah. Do you dress nice? Yeah. Do you have friends, family? Yeah. So, what else do you want? I think sometimes we get a little selfish, and young people especially, if things
Well,
don't go that way, sometimes it's okay. You can take a different route, but if you get to that end where you're happy and you're successful, success comes in many different ways, then it's
yeah.
all good, right?
Well, just a few more questions, and
Yeah.
we'll. No, I just want to touch base on, right. You're the generation now, right? Is way different than when you grew up.
Yeah.
And sometimes folks don't like listening or hearing from those who experienced X, Y, and Z of life.
Yeah.
But with that said, what if you had a conversation with somebody, what advice would you give them if they're a young adult? And
Um,
good.
just focus on what you want to do, and there's always that thing in life that you want to achieve, and there's maybe 3 or 4 things that you achieve. It's okay to have your hands in different fires, but you always want to have the experience, and you always want to have a backup plan. A backup plan is so important because it all depends what you're going for. Some people want to be the president and CEO of a bank, and that's great, but you got to get there. You got to talk to people in the business. You got to learn about the business, educate yourself. Don't listen to the media. Do your own education. Talk to people is the best way. Go on the internet and research stuff.
Well, that's a good point though. But
Yeah,
so you said education, right? Well,
yeah,
my takeaway with you is networking is a big component to life, right? I get
huge.
that. Now, either way, do you think do you encourage one to go to college or a technical school
It
or
depends.
not, or maybe?
It depends on if you feel that way. If you feel that you don't want to go to college and you're just doing it because your parents are telling you to do it, or you think that I'm going to get paid this really big salary once I graduate, think again, because I know many, many people, and I look at people's financial situation and advise them. I know many people that didn't go to college that are very successful. So it's what you want. Is that what you want? Great. If that's not what you want, then there's other things to do. It's up
Right.
to the person. I think everybody's individual. And when people tell you you can't, try it. Try it. Take some community college classes. Listen, it's really expensive. I see, I'm right across from CHOP Hospital, a satellite center here. I
Mhm.
talk to a lot of doctors and nurses, and they make a lot of money, but they bring home a lot of stress every day. And that's the other thing. What you want to do, is this going to fit the lifestyle? Are you okay working weekends and nights? If you're a teacher, you work during the day and you have your summers off. But are you? Because a lot of teachers now are working at night. So it all depends.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. So what is your energy level meter on a scale 1 to 10?
It's always a 10. Usually, unless I've done a lot of yard work. I was out doing yard work on my day off on Sunday, but it was peaceful. I have an acre and a half, and I'm up on a hill, and I have a great view of a valley with a church. It's a Lutheran church with a big cross steeple, and every
I'm
day
trying to get a visual here. I'm trying to get a visual. Go ahead.
it is so relaxing to get on my John Deere tractor. Again, I grew up in Delaware County, very city-like, not far from the city, very different experience, but it is the most relaxing experience. I get on my tractor and I just listen to my music and I cut my grass and I'm out there enjoying nature. I love it. And for right now, it works for me. And I love life and sharing my life with someone, which I didn't get married until 6 years ago. So, I finally settled down and said, well, I actually want the house and everything that comes along with it.
Awesome. All right, last question. And again, I really
Yeah,
appreciate your time.
no problem.
And I ask this all the time.
Okay.
And I didn't ask you before this, so I'm putting you on the spot. Is
Okay.
there anybody that I wouldn't say look up to, but
Okay.
who in this world today? It could be a celebrity, it could be a family member. Who do you admire
Wow, that's a tough question.
and why? Who's
I
well
would,
rounded? You know,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I would have to say, and this is a tough one because it depends on the area of life, but I would say my mom. My mom was not a college graduate. She had to raise two kids. My dad did send support, but she was always so positive, and I never remember seeing her upset or
hmm,
depressed. She worked two jobs. We moved in with my grandparents, but she always took me to the school plays, and she was always there in the audience and, always supporting me. And these crazy little game shows I do as a kid, she played
mhm.
along, my family played along, and I always talked to her like her friend. And I think a lot of times people don't have those relationships with their parents. They should look up to their parents because when we're younger, we think that they're just saying a bunch of stuff that we don't understand. But I think through the years, those family meal times, whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 4 people, are so crucial. It's a chance for us to get to know each other and be very communicative. And my mom was very good at communicating. And I think in all my relationships, in all my career, communication has been the key. And if you don't have communication with yourself and others around you, nobody's going to succeed, and they're going to not know you. So
Yeah, and I think one thing today is, everybody blames everybody else for the
yes,
problems and what have you. So listening, right? Listening, a conversation is a two-way street. The texting and the
it
email
is.
is cool. Pick up the phone, stop and talk to somebody else. But I think parents need to really do a temperature check with that and communicate with their
Yes.
kids, to your point, right? Again, different now because technology is such the forefront of our world that it's easier to just go in electronics and forget the day, or as the day ends when you're home with the family. But yeah, good advice. Good advice.
This, I think the smartphone ruined us. I think the
Yes.
one piece of advice that I see here and in my daily life driving, patience. We don't have patience at all as a society. I see it here. People don't want to wait 2 minutes in line. But that's just the way it is. They don't want to wait at the grocery store. They get angry and say, this store stinks. Or on the road, the light's red and the speed limit's 35 and people are trying to go around you to get to the next light. I'm like, so I think we all just
Oh,
need to
good.
slow down. I think if anything coming out of this COVID experience, when my customers say, what's your advice? Patience. And the team here will tell you, they're like, patience, just have patience. And you know what? Say something nice about someone because life
Yes.
is short and goes so quick. So,
Yes. And I'm going to end it with that, Joe.
okay.
My reply to you is, you're a great guy. You definitely
Thank
are
you.
inspirational. I definitely wanted to have you on for a while, and I hope that folks will just listen to you, right? Just listen
Yes.
to you, and we'll make this world a better place as we move forward. Love
Yes.
to have you later on a different note. We have a mentoring session, but I will take that offline with you one day
Yeah,
and follow up.
absolutely.
All right, Joe. Till next time. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Okay.